Hello everyone. This video is here to update you all on the situation between Iran and Israel. Of course, if you look at media coverage around the world, it seems like Israel has already struck Iran to the point of falling apart, basically hitting them at will. And that's actually true. Israel. Well, Iran's air defense and air force, in particular, really can't compete with Israel. Israeli planes can basically come and go as they please throughout all of Iran. But Iran is such a huge country, Israel, with just over 200 planes trying to control it. That's just not possible, especially since Iran has so many mountainous regions. And Iran has been using its missiles in recent months to attack Israel. So in this video, let's take a closer look at Iran. What is the situation facing the Iranian regime? Will this war drag on? In other words, these actions by Israel, or even actions involving the United States, can they actually force Iran to surrender and raise the white flag? I've done some independent research, as you might expect, looking into the situation inside Iran. So let me share what I found with you. The morning of June 13th, Israel launched its first strike. Fifth consecutive day, attacked Declan, and destroyed 3 heavy water areas in Declan, the largest uranium enrichment plant. How is uranium enriched? It's refined through centrifuges over and over again. Keep strengthening. At least 20 senior Iranian commanders were killed in the airstrikes, including Revolutionary Guard Commander Salami and Aerospace Force Commander Hajizadeh, who was in charge of the ballistic missile program. Iran's intelligence chief Khamenei was also killed in the attack. The intelligence chief was also killed. These military leaders are key members of Khamenei's core decision-making circle. In other words, their core members suffered heavy losses. These are people at the center of power, and they're not easily replaced. In Israel's latest strike, they bombed the state-run TV station, leaving at least 3 people injured. Play TV. We saw that video clip. That girl. Something fell down and she ran out. There were huge explosions in central and northern Tehran. You don't even need to say it. Next, you carefully bomb the airport. You're trying to find where the other side is storing their missiles. But that's not easy, because those missiles are mounted on vehicles, so they can move around. It's hard to locate them. The intention was, specifically, to strike Iran's crude oil, specifically its energy export facilities. Israeli Defense Minister Katz warned Khamenei that he could face a fate similar to Saddam Hussein's. This was a veiled reference to the former Iraqi president who was executed in 2006, but threatening him is useless. The man is 86 years old, and these people are extremely stubborn. These clerics, of course, have deep faith in Islam. These are people who are ready to become martyrs, so it's pointless. According to Reuters, citing 5 sources, Khamenei's inner circle, a major split has emerged. They can't find anyone to replace them. The real issue is he has fewer advisors now. As a result, it's very difficult for him to make decisions. And the decisions he does make are likely to be wrong. Khamenei's inner circle consists of about 15 to 20 advisors, including commanders from the Revolutionary Guard, as well as clerics and political figures. The common trait among them is unwavering loyalty to Khamenei. In fact, there are 2 main power structures, one Revolutionary Guard, and the other being the clergy. These 2 form the foundation of his power. And then they hold the politicians hostage, so to speak. This is essentially the basis of Khamenei's power. Now, out of these 15 to 20 people, 7 or 8 have died. It's not that easy for you to rise to the top. And of course, you could be attacked at any time. So you have to be constantly on guard, constantly changing locations, so that those missiles can't take you out. Khamenei, who is 86 years old, holds the highest command over the armed forces, has the authority to declare war, and decides on the appointment or dismissal of senior military commanders. He keeps a tight grip on the military, as well as the complete loyalty of the clergy to him, and those religious police and secret agents. Sources say that although Khamenei has the final say on major issues, he is someone who listens to his advisors and considers different viewpoints, seeking further consultation. Let me tell you, the president of Iran is a moderate. He came out and said it. He said that Iran has never wanted to develop nuclear weapons. He said this is Khamenei's stance, firmly against making nuclear weapons. That's what he's saying now. Khamenei has, in particular, long relied on using the Revolutionary Guard to control people within the country, as well as to carry out regional strategies. Besides protecting Iran, for example, they go out to support militias in Iraq and Syria, Hezbollah in Lebanon. All of those are directed by the Revolutionary Guard. This is the regional strategy. The targeted attacks on Revolutionary Guard commanders have severely damaged the power Khamenei relies on. The Iran-led Axis of Resistance Alliance has suffered heavy losses by Israel. Let's count them up. Hamas has already, indeed. Its leaders have basically all been killed. And most of the second generation of leaders have been killed as well. That's the first point. Most of Hezbollah's forces in Lebanon have been dismantled. Pro-Iranian groups in Iraq have also suffered significant blows. In Syria, Iran supported the ousted President Assad. But now he's already gone. And Europe and the United States have relaxed sanctions on Syria. Plus, there are no Russian troops there. So Iran's influence there has completely collapsed. Now, some Syrians in Europe have already started moving back to Syria. Trump posted on Truth Social, calling for Iran's unconditional surrender. He posted about unconditional surrender. It seems he's demanding unconditional surrender from Tehran. He said, "We have complete control over Iran's entire airspace. If Iran really does surrender, this would mark a new chapter in the history of world wars. No need for ground troops to occupy." Back when they fought Japan, they ended up dropping atomic bombs. They even needed the Soviets to attack northeast China, which wiped out the Guangdong army. Not having to send troops to fight in Japan was already a miracle. Just bombing and demanding others to surrender. The chances are extremely slim. You can bomb them. But without ground troops, it's very hard to force someone to surrender. When Japan surrendered back then, the military was almost in mutiny. The military mutinied, trying to seize the recording of the emperor's speech. Trump said, "I know where the supreme leader is, where to hide. It's easy to strike him, but he's safe there. We're not trying to kill him. At least, we're not going to kill him right now. This is intimidation. But we don't want to waste missiles, if we can help it, to attack civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is running thinner and thinner. I hope you all pay attention. So what if my patience is running out? Some people say the US will send troops, but the US absolutely won't send troops. It's pretty funny. People, US sending troops. I'll bet you. The U.S. won't send troops. At most, what will the U.S. do? Help Israel to block Iran incoming missiles. They're already doing this. Both the US and the UK are helping. Now France says they'll help too. Iran says, "You are so awesome. Why don't you protect yourself? I was squeezed by my wife." Israel's ambassador to the US has hinted that something is definitely going to happen this weekend. There will be a surprise later on. It might be even bigger than last September, when Hezbollah's communication devices were blown up in a series of explosions, killing many of Hezbollah's leaders on an even larger scale. So we wonder, what could this possibly be? Israel says, then something is going to happen. They're planning something. But what exactly is it? If communication devices receive signals, even your phone could explode, right? It's very likely to be a large-scale cyber attack. Something that could, in a way, throw Iran into chaos. On Thursday night, Wright said we might see something surprising on Friday, making the pager seem like a simple approach. They haven't revealed details, indicates a larger scale. I think if they use hackers, the well-established Iranian bank system in its entirety, completely erase it. Iran thrown into chaos. No one would know who has money. It's all digital now. Predatory Mahjong, a hacker group, claimed they had successfully hacked and destroyed data from Iran's state-owned bank SIPA. It's been inaccessible since the 17th. Is it possible to erase digital records in practice? No one would know who has money if you wipe out all the debts. That would be serious. If both debts and money are erased, then I'd be as rich as Li Ka-shing. If all of this is wiped out, hacker attack response. Apparently, the bank is suspected of attacking the bank, because now the bank is helping the Iranian government with military operations. They're helping Iran with ballistic missiles and nuclear programs. Now, cyber warfare has expanded into the financial sector. What else can we raid? Or one left to ambush. If you want to assassinate that person knows you plan to assassinate him. Unless there are agents following him every day, you could kill him at any time. If that person keeps moving around, it's really hard to get to him. A former U.S. National Security Agency official said, attacks like these, if they cause a disruption in Iran's cash flow, or trigger a crisis of confidence in the banking system, could have a major impact. If people find out they can't get their money from the bank, they'll panic. This is something that could lead to an economic collapse. On the afternoon of the 13th, Iran announced through state media that it was pulling out of the sixth round of nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S., which was originally scheduled for the 15th in Oman. Under these circumstances, there's no point in negotiating. Why did they end up getting caught all at once? It's because they believed that on the 15th, the U.S. would give them a final ultimatum, and if they couldn't reach an agreement with the U.S., Israel would launch an attack. But who would have thought that Israel would strike even before they had a chance to talk with the U.S.? Especially while they were in a meeting, discussing how to negotiate with the U.S. They were all taken out in one go. Khamenei broke his silence, posting on social media platform X, "The battle has begun." He wrote in English, "We will definitely respond forcefully to the terrorist Zionist regime." Striking Israel, the chief of staff of Iran's army issued a threat to Israel. He said that all actions so far have only been warnings and deterrents. A real retaliatory counterattack is just about to begin. Last time, I introduced the Fateh 110. And now there's also the Fateh 3 model. That's a hypersonic missile. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard says they want the Fateh 1 hypersonic missile. They've shaken the shelters in Tel Aviv multiple times. And early this morning, they launched 2 more waves of missiles at Israel. In these wars, neither side can sustain their ammunition supplies. The biggest way the U.S. can support Israel is probably by providing aerial refueling tankers. Otherwise, Israeli aircraft would have to fly over 1,000 kilometers for extended periods. 2,000 kilometers to reach Iran. If Iran sits there and lets you attack, you're still in a tough spot. Experts have analyzed that Iran's missile stockpile is being depleted. If they keep firing a lot, if you play 50 pieces a day, they could last for 2 months. But the strength of this new wave of attacks has weakened. They could bounce back and launch attacks. But maybe because their stockpile is limited, they can't rebuild it quickly enough. Some of the missiles aren't even deployed yet. Take it out. 3,000 missiles and have used around 1,200 so far. So there are 1,800 left. We can make 200 pieces per month. Both sides are warning each other civilians to evacuate. Everyone, evacuate. I'm not actually trying to hit you. Trump urged residents of Tehran to evacuate immediately. Iran has warned people in Tel Aviv and Haifa to leave right away. Otherwise, sorry, but you might get hit. The director of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Grossi, has confirmed that Iran's nuclear facilities in Fordow and Isfahan were not damaged. Only the surface buildings were affected. If the core nuclear facilities were damaged, there'd be radiation. It can't see radiation. The conflict keeps escalating. But there's no way to fight a large-scale war because both sides. No chance of a large-scale war because if Iran wants to attack Israel, they would have to go through Jordan first. And Jordan is no pushover either. If they try to bypass Iraq, that's way too far. And their supply lines could be cut off at any time. It's just not feasible. There are a few possible routes for an attack. They could go through Saudi Arabia, through Iran, or through Iraq and Syria. Unworkable. So in the end, everyone just uses these weapons to attack each other. And with attacks on this scale, I don't think it would make anyone surrender. Internal chaos exception. Unless Israel uses nuclear weapons to bomb Iran, it's very hard to destroy Iran's enriched uranium because it's hidden well. As for Iran's situation, this is the information I've gathered. Air raids cause panic and people to flee. Ever since the air raids started, you mentioned that over 200 people have died. Although, the thing is, the death of over 200 people is actually a small matter. But those who died were wealthy, so that's why it's significant. 200 plus people died in cities like Tehran and Isfahan. Of course, when those city residents flee, they stop doing business. Isn't that right? There's a sense of fear everywhere. Whenever there's an alarm, people rush into the subway. The government then controls communications and strictly limits the flow of information. First of all, in those big cities, many people avoid the suburbs. Even though there have been air raids, the country's leadership, including president and foreign minister, still appear in public and make statements to show that the government is still functioning. The government hasn't collapsed. A military spokesperson has vowed retaliation, showing that the military response is organized and being carried out. The government has blocked the internet and is steering all official messaging, stabilizing internationally. The national media, the live anchor from IRIB, I was watching him. He dropped something and ran down. But after the explosion, the national TV station continued broadcasting, immediately airing wartime undercover measures, evacuations, and communication limits. Right now, the government is still maintaining its basic governing functions. The government system is still intact. With this kind of attack, it's hard for the system to just disappear. What about public opinion? Most people support the government. Anti-war views exist. As soon as you attack them, nationalist feelings surge. That's often how it goes. It's just like when Japan attacked China. They didn't know during the War of Resistance. Chinese nationalism forced Chiang Kai-shek to fight no matter what. Most people support the government because of Israel's invasion and oppose Israel's incursion. Of course, not everyone is taking sides. Some people downplay the airstrikes, and some criticize the government for not fighting well. The heir to the Pahlavi dynasty has publicly said, calling on the people to overthrow the government. Israel is calling on the people to overthrow the government, but I think this has very little effect. There have been small-scale demonstrations in Tehran supporting retaliation, but there haven't been any large-scale anti-government protests. Some exiles, like Reza Pahlavi, have called on the military to oppose the regime, to overthrow the government. But the mainstream public opinion inside the country, I saw those people interviewing Iranians. Most of them are united in standing against foreign enemies, rather than fighting against the regime. Are there people who want to overthrow the government? At the moment, it's just a small group with ideological differences. Israel and exiled political figures are calling for the overthrow of Iran's leadership. No public response in the country. There's no response from the public. No military cooperation. Analysts believe there won't be a military coup or any large-scale protests unless you send in troops to occupy the country. Otherwise, the chances of a regime change are extremely slim, even though people are dissatisfied with the government's incompetence. When faced with external threats, they tend to focus on protecting the country rather than toppling the regime. It's been like this. During the War of Resistance against Japan, before the war, people disliked Chiang Kai-shek. The result is Japan's first hit. The Chinese people rallied behind Chiang Kai-shek. So Zhang Xiaoliang was wrong. Xi'an incident. He never expected the whole country would unite in support of Chiang Kai-shek. Angry and afraid. Now they're preparing to face more Israeli attacks. English language media. In English-speaking world, even though the situation is extremely tense, the Iranian government is still maintaining its regime and national unity. People are focused on saving lives and protecting their homes, rather than toppling government. Many have moved to the suburbs. So what does The Guardian say? Under the tense air raids, not everyone supports the regime. From the view of defending their country and families, that takes priority over toppling the system. The Washington Post, citing observers, says, government cuts internet, shuts comms, to suppress unrest, while also demonstrating its ability to mobilize. Reuters says the government still has control over the situation, with the support of loyal security forces. If those security forces indeed remain steadfast and continue to stand firm, there's no way to overthrow this regime.